what are some strategies that we can use right now for helping improving intimacy in our relationships?
I think of intimacy as the practice of going innermost with the self. And then when we choose, when we'd like, right, the practice of going innermost with another. Um, I once wrote I don't know, I wouldn't call it a poem. It was just a couple of sentences, but I think it was something like, into me, I see, into you, you see, into me, I let you see, into you, you let me see. Right. And so to this idea of like, going inwards, right? Understanding our inner worlds, understanding the other person's inner world. And when it's earned, right? When there's permission to go there, right? Being invited in or inviting somebody else into, this, yeah, this inner roadmap of our lives, our history, our present, our dreams and fantasies of a future. And yeah, I mean, I think, gosh, it's like, what do you think of when you hear the word intimacy, or what are some of the first things that come to mind? And um, there's many, I think that there's so many pillars of intimacy, right? From sexual to intellectual to emotional to physical to spiritual to creative to conflictual, right? Like, there's many of them. And so I think the ways in which intimacy have and how intimacy has sort of evolved for me is sort of recognizing like how many different pillars there really are, and how like, especially relationally, right? Like what pillars are actually the most important to me and what pillars are actually the most important to you, right? Because we might have different priorities, right? When it comes to how I want to actually either connect with myself or connect with another. And so I think, a practice that could be interesting for those listening is to consider, some of the pillars that I just mentioned, and maybe even sort of like rank, like how important is it just me with me, right? And then how important is it for me to share this with another person? And if you're in partnership, like hearing what that priority list actually is for them. You might have a guess at what you think is at the top of their list. And you may or may not be right? But I think that that's the point, is like getting curious about how are we doing, right? If you're in a partnership, right? How are we doing? How would you rank? I know sometimes people are maybe not as keen on ranking, like what those number associations mean. So sort of figure out what works best for you. But like, how connected did we feel with physical intimacy this week?
Mm.
Could it be more? Could it be less? Like, where is that? How connected did we feel in intellectual intimacy this week? Right? What did we talk about? What did we dive into? Right? And sort of moving through that. And if you're single, right, or unpartnered right now, exploring that with yourself, right? Like because the intimacy is not reserved for other people, right? It is something that we practice with ourselves as well. So that's definitely an exercise that anyone can do.
Mm. Is there one pillar that you mentioned that is more important than the next, or are they all equally as important?
No, there's not. That's human specific, right?
Mhm.
So there's no, like, I can't say, that for you, here's the most important pillar that you have to look at, right? It's about tuning into the self, right? Not comparing it to the next couple over there or the next person over there. Like, what is most important for you? You're the person who knows the self the best.